Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Rad World. Well, in the last episode, I went ahead and built this dwarvish hall. Or, I don't know if you really call this a hall. It's kind of short for a hall. I am fairly proud of it, but I've had quite a few issues when developing it. Particularly, the lack of detail on these walls down here. I just don't really know what to put here. I've had a few ideas, but I haven't implemented them yet. One of those being to add like staircases here to give it more depth. And I think that would work very well and possibly solve the issue. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad. It was a lot worse when I was just developing it. I didn't even have these pieces up here, and I was so confused on why it wasn't working. But no, I figured out it's just my fault. Lack of detail. And I don't know what I'm going to do for this hall here. The only issue with this hall is the fact that I think less than 30 blocks away is my basement. Oh wait, no, it's all the way up there. So I could put something underneath here. Actually, I just had an idea. This room here could be a map room, a huge map room. I've kind of wanted those, and I was going to plan on putting it down here next to my basement, but this seems like a much better idea. Well, I know what I'm doing next episode then. Now, on to what I planned for this episode. I want to expand the factory even more. Yeah, I need more bone meal. These two farms here take up a lot of bone meal. In particular, the tree chopper. It uses an incredible amount of bone meal, but I get a lot out of it. I think generally 1.5 stacks of spruce logs, give or take a couple of stacks, for about a double chest of bone meal. That is an extremely good trade-off. And this farm, well, it doesn't consume much bone meal. It's a very simple farm, so I wouldn't expect it to. There's just still so much in here. So that'll be the first farm today, a bone meal farm. And then the second farm will be another pumpkin and melon farm on top of this one. Now, I don't know how well it's going to work because this feeding system here cuts in to the ground. And because I'm going to be making it on top, I don't know how that's going to go. I want to make it on top because I want this area to have a bit more verticality. Well, maybe it already does have a lot of verticality. I think what I might do is possibly just put down another layer of these stone bricks here and then have it act as a buffer layer. Now, as with the glass, I'm going to be putting sea lanterns in these ones so that they keep their light level and they can grow still. These are all of the resources for that bone meal farm. It's technically a cactus farm, but I went ahead and turned it into a bone meal farm. I looked up a ton of tutorials, and a lot of them took bone meal to make bone meal. And I don't really like that. I kind of want the farm to run itself and not me have to worry about putting in additional bone meal just so the farm can run to then produce more bone meal. It's just one less little thing I have to worry about. This cactus farm is by Triloms. I'll leave a direct link to their channel in the description below, as well as a direct link to the video I will be using. Now, I don't know how many layers it is. I'm thinking that each of these materials, like each of these rows, is just one layer. But now looking at the video again, it looks like there's only 16 cactuses per layer. So I think I might have the materials for 8 layers here, which is fine. It just gives me more bone meal, so why not? But it also provides more verticality, like I was talking about earlier, to give the future factory more depth. Although I guess I can just do that on my own and not have to worry about building around the other farms for that. And so, with all of that being said, I say we hop into a building time lapse of this. I don't know how long it's going to take me, because of how tall it is, it might take me a few hours. See you in a bit. Alright guys, and we are back. Now, the farm, incredibly easy and simple to build. The only thing was I didn't have enough sea lanterns or glass. I didn't know if you needed to put these on every single layer, so just to be safe I did. I don't think you do, but you never know. Now whilst it was easy to build and extremely simple to follow, the output of the farm isn't the best. This was after 2 or so hours of AFK time. Yeah, that's not a lot of bone meal for 2 hours. Now I could just put on more layers, but I already have 4 layers here, which means I would need to make this thing a whole lot taller. Excuse me. And I'm not too sure if I want to do that. It's a lot of glass, which I have a lot of, but it's just 4 more layers added on top of a farm that isn't already very efficient. Now, I guess the good thing about it is the fact that because I'm using cactus to get bone meal, I can just convert it back into a cactus farm whenever I want and then have access to green dye. But I did originally build it for the bone meal. I think I might just have to find a skeleton spawner in a dungeon and make one that way. So that seems to be the most efficient farm that doesn't require additional bone meal to be pumped into it. Also, while building it, I screwed up the fence placements. These ones down here are different from these ones up here. It doesn't affect the farm at all. The cacti still break whenever they grow, but it just looks a little annoying when you look at it. But I'm way too lazy to fix that. So I'll go ahead and keep the farm around, even though its bone meal production isn't very efficient. It still will be useful for green dye. But now, it's on to the other farm in this episode, with that being a second melon and pumpkin farm. Right here, the same thing slapped on top of this one. I'm going to see how it goes because of this indent that's here. I don't know if it's going to interfere with this farm. If it does, then I might just have to build a different sorting system, which isn't too hard. I can just have it come more out instead of it going straight down like this one does. These are the materials for it. I will be placing sea lanterns, at least on this one, in this middle row here. I believe this will give the pumpkin and melon saplings just enough light so that they can grow. I don't know if I'll do it to the top one because, you know, I might add more layers. I probably will, just so that I don't have to go through and replace the glass with sea lanterns. It's not a big thing, but it just saves me time down the road just in case. Alright, and with all of that being said, I say we hop on to another time lapse. And hopefully, this time, I don't build the wrong pumpkin farm. If you guys saw in the original video, yeah, I built the wrong pumpkin farm for like 15 minutes, so I hope that doesn't happen again. I'll see you guys shortly. Alright guys, and we are back. That did not take long at all for me. Halfway through the farm, I think right around when I got the railway in, I basically just remembered everything else. What to do, so it was not that hard. Oh, and before I forget, this farm was made by Adil Games. I will leave a direct link to their channel in the description, as well as a direct link to the video I used. Or you can just go back and watch a previous episode. You know, that works too. Getting the dimensions down was a little tough because I didn't know if this block here, this second layer, went here or anything like that. It was a little confusing in the beginning, but I kind of thought it out for just a little bit and boom, it came to me. I got it all sorted out. Now, I didn't fill in the rest of this with stone because, well, it's not necessary, and throughout the entire thing, I was running out of stone bricks. Now, I have plenty of stone to fill it in, but I kind of like the skeletal look that it has. Even though this look is not going to stay permanent at all, and it's going to completely change when I get the industrial buildings and all that stuff done for this. It's going to have more of a steampunk look to it, but most likely the majority of these farms, these kind of inner cores, and even this outer core here for these farms, will most likely be covered. I also went and checked this farm down here, and I already turned all these melon slices into melons, but man, look at all this. This is so much money waiting to be made. And the storage system, not an issue at all. This fit in just fine with the farm, and I think what I'm actually going to do is even continue it down to here, and maybe even connect it up with this system right here. It'll look a little weird because I think looking at it, it'll go down here and then down here and then down here, and I can't put a hopper here, so a hopper will just have to come down again and then go to that chest. It'll look a little weird, but I don't think you'll notice it, especially when the industrial buildings come in. So one thing I'm worried about leaving these skeletal kind of frames open is I don't want a spider or anything else climbing up there and stopping the minecart. That's why I had to cover up these sugarcane farms, because I was so confused by these were stopping, and I thought, well, maybe it was unloaded chunks. Me consistently loading in and unloading chunks could stop these from working. And then I thought, well, maybe it's just mobs knocking into them. So I built this little glass case around it, and yeah, the problem stopped. So I think that was it. And from a distance now, you could definitely tell that the industrial sector is growing and continuing to grow. I like these big buildings. They make it just look so cool. And I have such big plans for this area. I'm just very excited. I'm thinking that for the next episode, I work on the smaller details, you could say. I said I was going to get an interior done for this cabin, and then never did it. So I want to do that in the next episode. And then as well as get a map room all nice and sorted out through here. It'll be a bit larger, so those are probably the only two things for the episode. But I want to make this map room huge, and I kind of want it to come in and then come at a central point instead of having my original idea of the hallway continuing this way and then taking a turn and then entering the building. I kind of want it to go straight into the map room. I just didn't know if I had enough room on this side, which it looks like I do, so I won't have to worry about that. These copper pieces are oxidizing very well, and you know what? I think it does make it look a little better. It makes it blend in a bit more. Oh, actually, I could also work on this for the next episode. It fits in with the small details theme. I could finally figure out how I can get more depth down here. But with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Goodbye!